Have you ever noticed the smarter you become, the lonelier you feel? Like, the deeper your thoughts, the harder it is to find someone who truly gets you. Arthur Schopenhauer believed intelligence isn't just a gift. It's a curse, one that pushes you to the edges of society. But why does being smart make life feel so isolating? And is there a hidden reason behind society's discomfort with intellectual depth? Throughout history, brilliant minds, from Socrates to Nikola Tesla, have been misunderstood, silenced, or even punished. Not because their ideas were wrong, but because they made people uncomfortable. The truth is, when you think deeply, you reflect society's own limitations back at it. This can trigger subconscious insecurities, making people resistant to engaging with profound or challenging ideas. But if intelligence creates this tension, does it mean deep thinkers are doomed to isolation? And why? As absurd as it sounds, can acting a little less intelligent sometimes make life easier? Or is there a way to bridge the gap between intellectual depth and social connection? Let's dive deeper and find out. Mirror effect. Arthur Schopenhauer, the famously blunt philosopher, once declared, "A high degree of intellect tends to make a man unsocial." His reasoning? Intelligent individuals often serve as mirrors, reflecting back the unacknowledged insecurities of those around them. It's like standing in front of a mirror that highlights every flaw, every doubt, every overlooked complexity. Instead of seeing it as a tool for growth, people may resent the reflection. Imagine standing beside a professional athlete, someone with incredible stamina or perfectly toned muscles. You might feel admiration, maybe a bit of envy, but you won't necessarily feel attacked. But stand next to someone whose mind unravels layers of meaning, who questions norms you've never even considered, and you may find yourself feeling vulnerable or inferior. Intelligence is intensely personal. It digs right into our identity. That's why Schopenhauer's words ring true today. A keen intellect can isolate a person, not because of arrogance, but because others might feel their self-worth threatened by constant, inescapable comparison. Daily life example. Think back to your school days. There was often that one student who always had the answers. Teachers were thrilled. One less task for them, right? But the rest of the class? Sometimes they'd roll their eyes, make snide remarks, or ostracize that student at recess. It wasn't necessarily because the student was bragging. In many cases, they were just naturally inquisitive or had a knack for the subject. Yet, their intelligence was a constant reminder to others of what they lacked or hadn't grasped yet. The simple presence of someone too smart can be enough to make an entire group uneasy, creating an undercurrent of resentment. The comfort of simplicity, Daniel Kahneman, a Nobel Prize-winning psychologist, offers a compelling explanation for why people prefer simplicity over insightful depth. Through his concept of cognitive ease, Kahneman shows that our brains love what's familiar, straightforward, and easy to process. When confronted with complex or challenging ideas, we experience mental friction, a discomfort that prompts us to back away. Think of it like preferring fast food when you're tired. You know it's not the healthiest option, but it's convenient and instantly satisfying. This preference for simplicity translates directly into social interactions. Imagine this. If you start discussing existential philosophy or subtle nuances of human psychology at a party, you might unintentionally create that mental friction. People came to the party to relax, laugh, and enjoy. Instead, they find themselves working through complex mental puzzles. It's no wonder many respond by disengaging or labeling you as too serious. Examples from history. Throughout history, it's often the brightest minds who face the darkest reactions. Socrates, for instance, was executed for corrupting the youth. But really, his crime was encouraging people to think critically and question authority. Galileo Galilei dared to insist that Earth revolved around the sun, defying the Church's geocentric doctrine. Rather than celebrating this groundbreaking insight, the authorities branded him a heretic and confined him to house arrest. Fast forward to Nikola Tesla, who dreamed of a world powered by free energy. Instead of being hailed universally as a hero, he was mocked, sabotaged by competing industrialists, and died almost penniless. These examples underscore a consistent pattern. Society often labels geniuses as threats when their discoveries or perspectives challenge entrenched beliefs or power structures. Being right too soon is, in many ways, a surefire way to become an outcast. Why intelligent people often end up lonely. Franz Kafka, known for his surreal and introspective literary works, painted a vivid picture of the alienation that arises from seeing truths hidden in plain sight. The more perceptive or awake you are, the more you notice the cracks in society's foundations. While others glide along with shallow talk, you're aware of deeper undercurrents, social norms that mask hidden anxieties, traditions that continue without reason, or illusions that people fiercely protect to maintain a sense of security. This can leave you feeling like you're observing life from an outside vantage point, rather than participating in it. Fyodor Dostoevsky's characters face a similar dilemma. Take Raskolnikov from Crime and Punishment. His intellectual abilities isolate him, driving him toward moral and philosophical extremes. While most people around him remain satisfied with surface-level chatter, his inner monologues spiral into guilt and existential dread. This reveals a truth. Awareness can be both a blessing and a curse. With heightened intellect comes the risk of overthinking, self-doubt, and profound loneliness. Extending the modern-day illustration, social media often amplifies the friction between intelligence and mass approval. Platforms reward sensationalism, quick judgments, and provocative one-liners. It's no surprise that entire communities thrive on memes and half-truths. When you attempt to correct misinformation or present a nuanced viewpoint, you might encounter backlash far harsher than any face-to-face disagreement. This is partly due to the anonymity of the internet and the echo chambers created by recommendation algorithms. Yet, these same platforms can also help you discover niche communities where deep thinkers congregate. You might find subreddits dedicated to existential philosophy, forums discussing advanced scientific theories, or Discord servers for thoughtful debate. The challenge is sifting through the noise to find these pockets of intellectual gold. The benefit of playing dumb. Renowned psychologist Jordan Peterson has often remarked that, in group settings, sometimes the best strategy is to play dumb. Why? Because group cohesion often hinges on shared norms and comfortable illusions. If you reveal your deeper insights too quickly or too forcefully, you disrupt the group's harmony. People may unconsciously bond over easy, agreeable truths. And if you challenge those truths, you become the outsider, the one who introduced friction. On the flip side, feigning ignorance can make you appear more relatable. It invites others to educate you, to share their thoughts without feeling judged. In a way, it's a method of easing into trust. By not flaunting intelligence up front, you can build rapport, then gradually introduce more nuanced ideas once you've established mutual respect. But that begs an important question. Is it sustainable or ethically comfortable to hide who you really are? Personal day-to-day insight. Consider how often you bite your tongue in casual conversation. Maybe a friend repeats a misunderstanding about basic science, or someone in your family shares a questionable Facebook fact. You could correct them, but you don't. You sense the tension it would create, how it might embarrass them, or spark an argument. So you nod along, or politely smile. The question is, does this keep the peace? Or does it rob everyone a chance to learn? This tiny scenario reflects a larger social strategy many intelligent individuals adopt. They pick their battles. They quickly realize that each confrontation over a misconception or flawed argument can lead to awkwardness or downright hostility. Over time, they adapt, only sharing deeper insights when they sense genuine curiosity or openness. The curse of intelligence. Blaise Pascal pointed out that As intellect grows, so does awareness of life's complexities and our own fragility. We realize that we're mortal, that our grand ambitions might be illusions, and that our sense of self is more precarious than we'd like to admit. Jean-Paul Sartre took this further, emphasizing that consciousness itself brings a sort of existential burden. When you deeply understand freedom, meaning, and responsibility, life can feel almost overwhelming. It's like upgrading from a rudimentary black and white TV to a full, high-definition color experience. You see more details, more flaws, more questions. While this richer perception can lead to great art, innovation, and empathy, it can also trigger anxiety or a sense of isolation from those content with simpler, more reassuring views of the world. George Orwell's warning. George Orwell famously wrote, "The further a society drifts from truth, the more it will hate those who speak it." This isn't just about political regimes or oppressive governments. It applies to everyday life. Many communities and social circles function on unspoken agreements to ignore inconvenient truths about relationships, about personal flaws, about the feasibility of certain lifestyle choices. If you're the one pointing out these truths, don't expect applause. People often label these truth-tellers as troublemakers, cynics, or even traitors to the group's harmony. Whistleblowers in companies, for instance, expose unethical practices, but frequently face retaliation. At family gatherings, the one sibling who points out dysfunctional patterns might be shunned. Intelligence, in this sense, isn't just about a high IQ. It's about willingness to see and articulate uncomfortable realities that others would rather keep hidden. The paradox explained. Bertrand Russell captured this paradox by noting, "The trouble with the world is that the stupid are cocksure and the intelligent are full of doubt." Society tends to reward confidence. If someone speaks loudly and with unwavering certainty, even if their ideas are shallow, they often gain more followers than the nuanced, careful speaker. The latter might present a thoroughly researched argument, but fill it with caveats, because real intelligence knows how complex reality can be. But caveats and caution can be perceived as weakness, indecisiveness, or lack of conviction. Meanwhile, simplistic or downright incorrect sound bites get shared millions of times on social media because they're easy to digest and they don't challenge people's existing beliefs. This phenomenon can leave intelligent individuals feeling as though the world isn't built for them, but for those who can oversimplify and charm their way to acceptance. Practical advice for intelligent people. All this doesn't mean you should bury your intelligence or shy away from expressing yourself entirely. It does mean, however, that mastering the art of communication is crucial. Consider the following strategies. 1. Choose your moments. Not every setting is suitable for deep introspection. Gauge the mood and context. Maybe a quick social event isn't the best place to discuss metaphysical theories. 2. Simplify without patronizing. If you want to share an idea, break it down into relatable chunks. Use analogies or stories so people can see the relevance to their own lives. But be careful not to sound condescending. 3. Ask more questions. Instead of lecturing, invite others to explore ideas with you. Questions make people feel involved rather than corrected or scolded. 4. Build trust first. When people trust your intentions, they'll be more open to challenging conversations. Show genuine interest in their viewpoints before presenting your own. 5. Find your tribe. Seek out communities or friends who value depth. They exist, but they might not be in your immediate social circle. Online forums, interest-based clubs, or specialized conferences can connect you with like-minded individuals. Remember, intelligence doesn't have to be a social burden. The key is learning how to share it in ways that nurture curiosity rather than defensiveness. Dealing with the isolation, Arthur Schopenhauer would likely remind us that isolation is sometimes inevitable. The more you see through society's pretenses, the more you can feel like an observer on the sidelines. While this can be disheartening, it also grants a unique perspective, one that can lead to innovation, creativity, and personal growth. Now, consider Galileo once more. His isolation wasn't just geographical, house arrest, but also intellectual. He had knowledge he wanted to share with the world, yet was forcibly prevented from doing so, leaving him to wrestle with the weight of unshared truth. Nikola Tesla, similarly, found that his advanced ideas about wireless energy and alternating current were met with resistance, primarily from financiers who feared losing their monopolies. Tesla's intelligence, while visionary, threatened the comfortable status quo of vested interests. If mainstream social norms feel stifling, it's entirely valid to step away from them at times. Engaging in solitary hobbies, like reading, writing, or any creative pursuit, can be a source of immense fulfillment. Even Friedrich Nietzsche, often misunderstood for his critiques of herd mentality, believed in the transformative power of solitude. He suggested that great ideas and personal evolution often sprout from solitary reflection, away from the cacophony of collective mediocrity. Jean-Paul Sartre faced immense criticism and alienation, especially when his existentialist ideas contradicted political or cultural norms. He once quipped that hell is other people, not as a blanket condemnation of humanity, but as a pointed comment on how our sense of self can be tortured by judgmental and misunderstanding gazes. The stigma of being too smart. In everyday life, there's an unspoken stigma about being too smart. People might say, "Don't overthink it," or "You're making things complicated," as if complexity itself is a social faux pas. This stigma exists because complexity demands effort, and most of us are short on time, patience, or both. We prefer what's instantly gratifying. That's why cat videos go viral, while a deep discussion on philosophy might languish in obscurity. But what if you're someone who genuinely enjoys dissecting ideas, who finds real joy in unraveling complexities? You might face a sense of cultural mismatch. You want intellectually stimulating conversations, but your environment prizes quick entertainment. This can lead to self-doubt. You might wonder if you're odd or pretentious. Yet, it's crucial to remember, there's nothing inherently wrong with caring about depth. It simply means you have to navigate a world that sometimes runs on shallow modes of engagement. The long-term effect, depth versus acceptance. Over time, many intelligent individuals face a critical crossroads. Will they continue to pursue depth, even if it means frequent misunderstandings and occasional loneliness? Or will they downplay their intelligence to secure broader social acceptance? Some alternate between these modes, wearing different masks for different social settings. An interesting concept from social psychology is the idea of code switching, where people adapt their language, behavior, or presentation based on their audience. While code switching is often discussed in the context of culture or race, a parallel can be drawn here. You might code switch your intelligence, dialing down the complexity of your speech or analysis based on who you're with. Done skillfully, it can be an effective way to communicate with a diverse range of people. Done poorly, it can feel like you're betraying your genuine self. Finding fulfillment. Fulfillment comes when you find harmony between your intellectual inclinations and your social environment. This doesn't mean everyone around you must be an academic or a philosopher. It means cultivating relationships where people respect each other's differences. You offer your insights when appropriate, and your friends offer you a different perspective or a grounding influence when you might be lost in your head. Consider how Nikola Tesla found a kindred spirit in certain circles, or how Galileo's core supporters valued his work, despite the church's opposition. Even Socrates had disciples who cherished his teachings. This highlights a silver lining. No matter how controversial or uncomfortable intelligence might be for the many, there will always be a few who truly appreciate it. Elaboration on the benefit of acting stupid. Why exactly might it be better sometimes to act stupid? In addition to easing group tension, it also grants you more information about your environment. When people believe you're less informed, they let their guard down exposing what they truly think or feel. This can be a strategic advantage in certain career paths, like negotiation or investigative journalism. However, the ethical implications of consistently playing dumb shouldn't be overlooked. It can form relationships built on a false premise, potentially eroding authenticity. Over time, tying into theories, Schopenhauer's mirror effect, Kafka's depiction of social alienation, Dostoevsky's exploration of existential dread, Jordan Peterson's insight on group dynamics, Kahneman's cognitive ease concept, Orwell's warning about truth-telling, Russell's paradox of confidence versus doubt, Pascal's existential dread, and Sartre's existential freedom. They all converge on a central reality. Intelligence can be both a boon and a barrier. The boon is the potential for transformative ideas, deeper understanding, and inventive problem solving. The barrier is social friction, self-doubt, and isolation. Conclusion: intelligence doesn't have to condemn you to loneliness or perpetual misunderstanding. Yes, society is predisposed to resist ideas that push them out of their comfort zones. Yes, that resistance can manifest as ridicule or ostracism. And yes, sometimes it's pragmatic to soften your intellectual edges or bide your time. But by understanding these psychological and social dynamics, you can navigate the world without dimming your light entirely. The key lies in balance. Harness your curiosity and analytical prowess, but wrap it in empathy, humility, and strategic timing. Extend compassion to those who might feel threatened by your insights. And remember that not every environment is ready for transformation. Seek out those rare connections where your depth is valued, not dismissed. Build a small circle where authenticity thrives. And from there, your influence can ripple outward more subtly and effectively than if you come charging into every space, wielding intelligence like a weapon. In a world where comfort often trumps truth, intelligence can feel like a lonely road. But if history tells us anything, it's that the big leaps forward from philosophy to science to cultural breakthroughs originate in the minds of those unafraid to think differently. Society may fear intelligence, but it's the intelligent who nudge humanity forward, one uneasy revelation at a time. So, if you've ever felt your mind wander beyond the mainstream, take heart. You're not just scaring people, you might be quietly shaping the future